Where do I even begin with this? It all started back sometime in May when I had an idea of a build where I could dual boot Windows 95, 98, and maybe have DOS on the side. Later down the road after the build, I figured that it wouldn't be best since each hardware I chose had a purpose to each machine I put together. Plus, it didn't really make sense to have both 95 and 98 on there since 98 is what I like to call the enhanced version of 95. More ideas start to take shape on what I wanted to do with this. That could be worth the time and effort, or maybe just something crazy I wanted to do. During the building process, I ran into a sort of problems, being that the power supply wasn't long enough to reach the 20-pin power connector and having to force it in, causing stress on the wires that could damage it. And I didn't have the PC screw set at the time, so I had to find leftover screws to get the job done, only to cause more problems later. After the messy build, I powered it on for the first time only to have no video. So I took the motherboard, video, PSU, and hard drive out, set it on a box for testing purposes. And that's where I hit rock bottom when the motherboard couldn't find the 40GB hard drive. I tried to enter it manually with the right sector, cylinder, head, so on that was listed on the manual. Nothing. At this point, I'd given up. After weeks later, a thought came to me that might have explained the issue I was having. Maybe the motherboard couldn't detect a big hard drive. Or did you check the cables to be sure they were in correctly and not backwards? Then I realized, oh, that could be the issue. Now, stuff like this can happen. The littlest things in the world can cause issues like that. And you wouldn't even realize it until you'd done the littlest things, only to find out that, oh yeah, that was the issue. And I was just really tired at the time, so nothing really clicked for me when I was trying to troubleshoot the issue. But the chances of that happening with the motherboard having some sort of hard drive capacity problem is very slim, but then again, it depends on the motherboard. However, I did see that it can do large hard drive support, or LBA, which means logical block addressing. And if you don't know what that means, logical block addressing is a common scheme used for specifying the location of blocks of data stored on a computer's storage device. So I went back to set it that way, but it was still having problems. So I went to get a different hard drive to test this theory out. So I present you the Maxtron Diamond Max 2.5GB hard drive. This should do the trick, right? And guess what? Still was running into issues. Now I'm thinking, okay, it's either the motherboard or maybe it is the cable. I tried different cables and yeah, now the hard drive is showing up, but not the CD-ROM drive. So I went back and tried a different cable with the CD-ROM drive, and now the hard drive's not showing up again. The CD-ROM drive came from the Windows 2000 machine, so I already know that this thing works. So now what's the problem? Well, it turns out that the cable was just plugged backwards. What do I mean by that? Well, the IDE cable has this design where there's like the one plug that's far away from the other two plugs, which indicates these two that are the closest are the ones that are supposed to go on your optical drives. Well, imagine those backwards. Could that really be the issue? Maybe, or maybe I have plugged them incorrectly on the motherboard, which every IDE cable has a little red mark on the side which helps you indicate where it should be, and a clip. Well, the IDE cable I have did not have a clip on it, and that little red mark was actually faded. So, but at the end of the day, the computer works, it's able to detect everything. So let's go over every part and see what this thing has to offer. Alright, so we're going to start with the motherboard. We have a Gigabyte motherboard Pentium 2 ATX. Now this comes with a manual and CD-ROM for the drivers, so that's great. For the CPU, we have a Pentium 2. Now this is a 450 megahertz, but we are going to be underclocking it since this motherboard doesn't really go anything higher than 266 megahertz, which I guess is fine. Just sad that we won't be able to use the full potential of the CPU. And the next thing we have is the ATI Rage 2C. This is a PCI card, and it actually came with a pink receipt dated back in the year 2000. The next part, we have the Sound Blaster 128 PCI card. This also comes with the drivers as well and the manual. And we have here, and this is just a little short unboxing. It's kind of horrible. I was kind of holding the camera at the time because I just really wanted to show this. But we have here, just for cosmetic, the network PCI adapter. And then we have a new power supply. I figured I'd just get a 450 watt and call it a day. So we'll hook that in. And for the hard drive, we are sticking with what I presented last time, which was the 2.5 gigabyte hard drive, floppy disk, CD-ROM drive, and that's really about it. We're just going to make it as simple as possible. And we have here is a really big PC case, which will actually help with a little bit of cable management and leg room, better for cooling as well. And with all that, I'm going to show you kind of the cable management I did with it. For the operating system, I decided to do something a little different. We're actually going to be installing Windows NT 4.0. Why this particular build? It's something that I've never really played with, and I'm just curious to see what this is all about. I am aware that this is a server slash workstation computer, so DOS games don't really play fair with it, but let's just give it a shot and see what this is all about. The installation wasn't too bad. It went very smoothly. I had both the floppy disk and the CD-ROM with the year 2000 CD patch for NT 4.0, and we'll just go ahead and boot right to the desktop. So as you see here, it's asking us to hit Ctrl-Alt-Delete to log in, so we'll go ahead and do so. And oh, that camera's out of focus. Let me fix that. There we go. And here we are. We are presented with the welcome screen. Welcome to Windows NT. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and install the drivers and get this bad boy going. First on the list, we're doing the motherboard. I have the CD with all the drivers for the motherboard. There was one software or one driver I was trying to install that didn't work. It looked like it could only work within the Windows 95, but that's fine. That was for something very small. Other than that, everything else went smoothly. So we're going to go ahead and move on to installing the ATI drivers for the graphics card. As usual, the ATI drivers were installed correctly. There were no hiccups. So we're going to go ahead and do the Creative Sound Blaster 128 drivers as well. And that went well as expected. There weren't any hiccups with it, so far so good. And it did come with a bunch of software to mess around with, so I'm going to be so excited to play with that. Yes, everything has gone smoothly. I know I use the word smoothly so much, but that's just how this process has been. It's been great. I haven't had any issues so far. I'm starting to feel a little confident with the operating system, actually. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that keytar that came with the Sound Blaster 128 software bundle. Let's play with that a little bit. Very interesting. So in order to strum the strings, you would have to hold down the mouse button and move your mouse to the coordinated string in order to play a note. Now there is a chord palette, as you can see here, to change all of it, which I'll just leave it as the default for now. But all the other guitars on the top, you can have it from different moods. Obviously there's metal, and then there's like kind of crazy ones there too. Very cool. I actually like that. Oh, and to quit the application, you just break your guitar. You know, like most musicians do when they want to leave the stage. I'm just going to quickly take a look at the games that it came with. Probably nothing. Wait, Pinball? Pinball was on Windows NT? I don't remember that. But that's cool. Does anyone remember the music? Well, now it's a good time to test out that Sound Blaster. That sounds good. I'm kind of shocked on my sound card. Like, I wouldn't think like it would have a really good MIDI table like that, but I guess I'm wrong. So let's play some pinball. I don't know why, but as a kid, I always thought the top part of the pinball machine looks like a face going on. There's like some eyes there, a nose, and I'm guessing that's a teeth. I don't know, I was a pretty weird kid. Well, anyway, uh-oh. Yeah, I knew it was going to give up, but on pinball, out of all the things I was going to test, like Doom and Quake, it just gave up on pinball. Okay, well, I already know this is going to be a problem, so I guess we'll try Windows 95. And here it is, Windows 95. Now, I'm not going to go through and show the installation again, because actually that was a problem. It took me longer than it should to actually get Windows 95 installed, so I wasn't really looking forward to capturing all that. But it works, so let's go ahead and switch over to the video capture device. Okay, now that we can see it a little bit more better, we're going to go ahead and finally get those drivers installed and get going. Oh no. Well, yeah, I guess Windows 95 is not detecting my CD-ROM drive. And I know it's a pretty easy fix, but then I also remember one thing I didn't like about it that I guess I should have thought about before installing it. Windows 95 also has problems with the sound drivers, from my understanding, and especially with the Sound Blaster 16, if I'm correct, even though I have the 128, but I can already tell that this might be an issue. So, I just wasted all that time and effort to get Windows 95 installed. Alright, I give up, guys. Windows 98. Well, here we are, Windows 98. And yes, that is the same splash screen background from the ATI installation. I thought it looked really cool. I had to have it as a background. So, alright, well, everything's working now. I'm not having any problems, so let's go test out the sound and everything else with Duke Nukem 3D. First thing I'm going to do is definitely change the screen setup so the capture card can actually record it. Yes, it has to be 640 by 480. It's the only way I can get footage on here. Any other resolution besides 1080p and, if possible, 4K, it won't capture it. But as you can see here, I already set everything up to Sound Blaster. Oh, come on. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. There is no end to this. There really is not. This is like a nightmare. It's like one build I try to do, and for whatever reason, it's always that one part that has to mess everything else up. But it did work on Windows NT, so why is it not working on 98? Maybe I should have stuck with 95. Oh, alright. Let's fix this. Well, this time I decided to switch the sound card with the Turtle Beach Vortex, so that should get the job done. I had to install the Service Pack 3 for Windows 98 to get the USBs to work, especially the 2.0s and 3.0s, because I had to get the drivers online. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and install it, and we'll finally test it out. And yes, this install actually takes forever. I'm not going to fast forward the footage. I'm just going to get to the point where it's about done. Okay, so it's finishing up with installing the drivers for the Vortex, and after that we're going to go ahead and try out Duke Nukem 3D again and see if we can get the MIDI tables to work with it. Oh, this doesn't end, does it? You guys can't see it, but basically I got a blue screen. It's screaming the fact about the communication between the vortex and the computer. Something had to do with the specifications of the piece of hardware I got. Basically, this vortex came out of an old Dell computer which was used for Windows XP. I'm assuming that's the issue as well. And yeah, there's the error. Well, great. After going to the liquor store and buying every single alcohol I see and drinking that night, the next day I decided to try something different. One quick note real quick, I did go in safe mode and did remove the Sound Blaster drivers from it, so I can rule out that that's not the issue. But I wanted to add that real quick since I forgot to mention that. And what I mean by different is I actually picked up another Sound Blaster 128. This one's the model CT4740. The other model I had in there previously was the CT4700. So I'm thinking hopefully with that should make a difference and it should work without any issues. Well, after installing it, it worked. But let's try it on Duke Nukem first before we can make any assumptions saying that this actually does work. So here we are back at it again. I launched the setup. We'll go into the sound setup and we'll give it a shot to see if that new Sound Blaster is actually going to behave and actually work. So we're just going to set it up. And we're going to do the same for the music. Set the Sound Blaster. Let's test it out. Okay, there's some progress. Alright, hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm just an idiot. Apparently the Sound Blaster, there's this thing called the IRQ. It's supposed to be on 5, and I set it on 7 on here. Okay, real quick note. So basically the IRQ is what's called an interrupter request. It's part of a PC architecture. The hardware sends a signal to the processor letting it know where it's at. That processor gives it a specific number, so when you launch a special program, such as like Duke Nukem, Doom, whatever, when it asks for that specific RIQ address, it knows where that specific hardware is, such as like the sound card that I was having problems with. So let me go make that change so it actually knows where to find it. And after that fix, let's go ahead and try it. Just cross your fingers, hope that's the answer. Okay, yes, that's the answer, thank God. Well, what about the music? I'm kind of curious about that. I don't hear it. Well, let's just change it to general MIDI and see if we can get it to work there. I'm actually going to set the port to the Sound Blaster, see if maybe that'll work. No? Okay, yeah, I thought so. Alright, let's set it back to 330. That's where it's at. Okay, I can hear it now, but last time, for whatever reason, I was just not able to hear it. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove the background music for now so we can hear it a little better when we actually launch the game. So let's go do that. Alright, so we are launching the game. I love that little DOS thing it does, checking for sound, checking for music. Oh, classic. And it's a little black. Let me see if I can try to fix that. Give me a sec. I don't know why it's there. We go. Finally. As you can tell, it works. The sound works. You can barely hear the music, yes. But otherwise, it's running. It's doing both. So I got nothing to complain here. Except for the fact that the game runs a little bit odd. It's kind of janky in some parts. Even though we're running an 8 megabyte card. Oh well. It's still playable in my opinion, so I can't complain. What about Doom? Are we going to have any problems with Doom? Well, the music works great, but I'm already noticing a problem. There's no sound! Oh my god. It could be the fact that I'm using Doom, the collector's edition, so it's like the Windows port of it, so it's not really the DOS version. So I guess I could blame it on that, but Duke Nukem was able to do it. Well, let's try another game. And here is Hellbender. Now, I'm running the game off the CD, So it's going to be very slow. I did have it installed on the hard drive, but of course, there's problems for that. There's always going to be problems for something, so this is going to be a project for me to try to fix more on. Okay, so I'm hearing sound, so that's good. So again, the sound works on Hellbender, and that's not even a DOS game. What gives?
But winning the war is up to you.
Well, not really hearing the music, but as you can tell, it's already showing off that lagginess. Yeah, even when I shoot my guns. Again, running on the CD is not recommended. Alright, well, where's the music? Well, I know I have to enable it, so let me do that. Now, of course, it's set to CD music, but I don't have the plug that goes to the sound card to the CD drive, so I'm going to change that to synchronized music. Oh, and look at that. What do I hear? Music. So, Duke Nukem works. Hellbender works, both sound and music. But Doom, or Doom 95, only the music works. Well, at the end of the day, I'm just happy to say that at least I have a stable computer. I am going to be working on tweaking it a little bit more and trying to figure out the Doom issue. But, yeah, as you can tell from all that frustration I was going through, yeah, I almost gave up on it. But for whatever reason, I could be a very patient person. Yeah, not a lot of people have that. So, what have we learned? Well, nothing really, besides the fact that computers can be quite picky and very annoying, but you gotta work with it in order for it to get going. So, I could go ahead and conclude this video. And for the next video, I have something a little bit more not so frustrating and probably not so long either. I know this video has been running pretty long. So I will catch you guys on the next calming video.